For Greenwich Point hole 3, this hole is a really tricky hole. The drive isn't tricky, it's the second shot. So on the drive you want to do about 4 to 5 topspin, max right spin, set up along the middle of the fairway, and then over adjust your shot by 10%. If it's a headwind, you do want to use some overpower to get yourself over the rough and onto the fairway. So you do want to add a little bit of right curl as well to get you around the tree and get you further up the fairway and more to the right of the fairway. But it is a plus 10% elevation for your drive. I was playing this shot in a stream one day and someone said to do minus 10% and offset it. I ended up doing that and making this hole, but it's technically minus 20% on this at the hole. So next time you do this, do one backspin with one right spin, get the slider of your club, aim it at the hole, and then with this wind angle, the right to left headwind, you want to do a minus 20% elevation, because every wind angle that I've had this direction, I have made this shot or come really close with this shot at a minus 20% elevation. The trick is getting the slider correct on your sniper. So if you feel like writing down yardages, go ahead and do so. I am lazy and I don't write down my yardages and I just kind of wing it. So here it does play at a minus 20% elevation for the right to left wind. Once again, for our drive, we want to go 4 to 5 bars of topspin with max right spin. You want to aim down the center of the fairway and then over adjust your shot with a plus 10% over adjustment, and then give yourself some right curl to keep yourself away from the left hand side of the rough. For this next shot, I did play at a minus 20% elevation. It is a right to left headwind again. I did one back with one right spin and aimed it at the hole. I guessed the slider of my club, which I have forgotten what the slider of my club was in this video. So I did play at the slider of my club with a minus 20% elevation. Now what I do think is that a straight tailwind or headwind, like if it's straight, is going to play at 0%, and a left to right headwind or tailwind is going to play at a minus 10%. So it's a really weird hole, and I haven't figured it all out, but I do know that the right to left wind does play at a minus 20% elevation. So again, we are playing our drive with a plus 10% elevation, max right spin, 4 to 5 bars of top spin. It depends on how strong the wind is. Usually a headwind I like to do 4 to 4.5, 5, it depends. With a lower driver, you're going to want to use a tad bit more top spin. Then you're going to over adjust your shot with a 10% over adjustment. If you pull into overpower, use a little bit of overpower on your drive as well, with about a half a ball of curl. For this shot, I used minus 10% elevation. I ended up hitting a great right, and it dropped, which leads me to believe that I didn't adjust enough. So this being such a straight, more of a straight wind instead of a right to left, I believe it played at 0% elevation. So anything that is remotely like a straight headwind or a straight tailwind, I do believe plays at a 0% elevation. Again, for the drive, you're going to play with 4 to 5 bars of top spin, max right spin, and over adjust your shot with a plus 10% elevation. If you have a right to left wind, you want to do about a half a ball of curl. And if you have a left to right wind, you want to do about a quarter ball of right curl, just to make sure you stay away from that rough on the left. For this wind, since it was a straight crosswind, I did use a minus 20% elevation. And honestly, guys, I would keep using minus 20% if it's a right to left type of wind. And if it's a left to right, I would try minus 10. And if you seem to be coming in where you're not adjusting or you're over adjusting, then switch it to minus 20. But you might want to keep notes on this hole because it does... It's a very weird hole. Not a lot of people albatross this hole, and I albatross it once in a great while. So don't beat yourself up over it if you don't albatross it every time. But I did play this at a minus 20% elevation, and it did drop again. But it does seem like the right to left headwinds and crosswinds seem to play at a minus 20% no matter what, where you are at on the drive. So one last time, our drive does play at a plus 10%. Max right spin, 4 to 5 bars of top spin, and then give yourself about a half a ball of curl with a right to left wind and a left to right, about a quarter of a ball of curl, and use some overpower if you adjust into overpower to get yourself further up the fairway. Here we have another right to left wind, and I did play this at minus 20% elevation at the slider of my club. The trickiest part of this hole is actually finding the slider positioning of your club. So you might start taking notes if you make the albatross. Just note down the yardage that you did and the elevation you did. So it might make it a little bit easier for you if you come across this hole again. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching my videos, and remember, hit perfect. Happy golfing, guys.